Hi everyone, Anthony Times Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Busta Rhymes album, Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God. This is the newest full-length LP from one of the best and most eccentric rappers of all time, Busta Rhymes. I believe this makes his 10th studio record. It's been 8 years since his last, and personally I was curious as to what he would offer after all these years, especially since this is the sequel to the original Extinction Level event that dropped in 1998. Considering the apocalyptic times we live in currently, I guess it makes sense to bring back the title. But honestly, not too much has changed in Busta's creative philosophy in crafting an album. Once again, he's asking listeners to bite off more than they can chew with 22 tracks that span 78 minutes. He's really crafting albums that have to bring a little bit of everything to the table, like he's trapped in the 2000s. The tracks on this thing really do range in direction and tone. Sometimes it's even difficult to parse out what Busta is exactly getting at on a particular song because his bars feature such a chaotic mix of conspiracy, religious mythology, apocalyptic prophecy, with some paranoia and societal critique on the side, and all of it is broadcast with the explosivity of an over-budget action flick with a sci-fi twist, especially on the first leg of the record, where the intro sounds like a blathering and very pretentious start to a movie trailer. Then you have Chris Rock screaming his brains out, and he pops up at numerous times to add a little flavor and personality and levity to the project. Though I will say, lyrically on this introductory track, Busta is in peak form. The Rakim feature on the song is impressive too and reinforces a lot of the track's themes. It's a lot to take in, but at the very least, Busta keeps you on the edge of your seat and sounds like he hasn't skipped a beat. His flows are still dizzying, his breath control is godlike, and his personality and expression are next level. The problem is, though, Busta falls prey to the same pitfall many flashy and very eccentric rappers have in the past, and that's the sound and the songwriting going a little ignored under the assumption that the strange quirks and technical skills will be enough to make up for that gap. For many listeners, I'm sure it is, and if you love this record, fine. However, I can't really ignore just how underwritten a track like The Purge is, or the completely obnoxious overdubs on Strap Yourself Down that are very obviously clipping, which is just one of many weird mixing blemishes on this project. However, this is not as unflattering as the nonsensical beat switch around the midpoint of this song, after which nearly everything in the mix sounds distorted. Then there's the song Czar that sticks out for having easily one of the weirdest instrumentals on this LP. It has this tense string swell triplet over a 4/4 with some offbeat snares and then some sporadic piano notes just to add to the lack of cohesion. It's impressive that Busta is able to deliver over it so smoothly and aggressively, much less find room for the exuberant gang vocals of M.O.P. But God, is it tedious. The beat, the groove gets so stale so fast and really serves no purpose other than to be a beat that no other rapper would rap on, while Busta Rhymes just does backflips off of it perfectly. While I do respect the craft, I do, in no medium does technical ability alone reign supreme. Ideas and concepts are important too, and if you're working with a subpar idea, doesn't matter how technical you get with it. Take Out of My Mind, for example, which in my opinion is an even tougher listen, where Busta Rhymes is lyrically convulsing over the legendary drum break from Belle Biv DeVoe's Poison, which is somehow more grating than any Death Grip song I've ever heard, I think. In fact, I think this is how Death Grip sounds to people who really hate Death Grips. There really is like a lack of balance and nuance and subtlety to many of these songs. In fact, I think the first track I really fell in love with on this one was the cut featuring Old Dirty Bastard. Slow Flow, the ODB features on this one punch in really well and serve as a nice reminder of how him and Busta were two eccentric kings cut from a strange cloth. The instrumental is as unique as both of them, with these very odd 8-bit arpeggios playing out over smooth bass and a dirty boom bap beat. The flows, the delivery, the wordplay are all colorful, of course, but it's reserved enough so that the madness translates really well. The unsung hero on this track, or even the one featuring Rick Ross in my opinion, is the ability to restrain. Furthermore, the ability to edit, the ability to refine, which are not strengths that Busta has in spades across this LP. Whether that be on Don't Go, where the Q-tip feature just doesn't really add that much, plus those vocal harmonies, there are a few lines that are very apparently out of tune and really could have used a redo. Then Busta's bars on True Indeed read sort of like lyrical miracle jargon with an awkward poop joke at the very end. Then Oh No sees Busta trying to ride that low-key psychedelic trap wave, but his voice totally manhandles the instrumental to the point where it makes going in this direction pointless. There's no vibe here. It's like listening to Godzilla violently shake a baby seal. You, with Anderson .Paak, suffers from a similar issue. I do admit some of Paak's odd production quirks here have grown on me, but the whole thing is just too subtle, too skeletal, too off-kilter. By the time Busta brings his verse on the back end, it's just way too overpowering, too divergent. But listen, for me, the record is not a total wash. At the end, we have a lot of great tracks back to back to back, where, in my opinion, Busta comes off most topically focused, and going into more personal issues and tying the album up thematically, a little bit at least, seems to draw him a bit more inward, turning down the insanity just a tad and focusing on the overall tone of these songs a little more. Best I Can with Rhapsody sees her and Busta exploring narratively these baby mom, baby daddy problems over a classic soul sample and hip-hop beat. The arguments over each other and parenting on this one are petty, sure, but I think in a lot of respects very real, maybe way too real. Meanwhile, the cut Where I Belong with Mariah Carey sounds a lot older than I think it is. It's like a club-friendly piece of pop rap from the 2000s with a slick R&B hook with Mariah Carey singing about messing with the wrong boy. The formula that's being applied here is long dead at this point, but I suppose it's not a bad resurrection. Then on Deep Thought, we have another concept cut where Busta is in a contemplative mode over his inner demons, whether or not he should share these feelings with his significant other specifically, who can sense something is going on and is trying to draw it out of him. And Busta isn't as much rapping on this track as he is acting in a sense. He's really playing out these very negative thoughts, these positive thoughts, trying to find honesty with himself and others around him while also balance. It's once again a super relatable song that, like that cut with Rhapsody, is maybe just too real for words. Look Over Your Shoulder with Kendrick is sort of like a victory lap on the record. It was good as a single. It's still good as an album cut. Then You Will Never Find Another Me features Mary J. Blige, who absolutely stuns. Love the grand and classy instrumentation here, along with Busta's bold bars that are pretty reflective, boasting on his legend status, his longevity, while also thinking back to the architects of rap who he carries the torch for today. Very much a last of a dying breed type anthem, which in his case is absolutely true. Meanwhile, Freedom comes off like a very dark inner monologue that I think makes absolute sense for a record like this, and SATANIC tries to tie up a lot of the album's apocalyptic themes, societal critiques, just bringing things full circle with the dark state of the world that seems to have inspired this whole project in the first place. And overall, it's a very mixed bag. I came out enjoying it generally and still being impressed with the incredible amount of personality and skill that Busta showcases over the years. Certainly he was extremely beyond the average back in his heyday, and that is very much the case now. I would say that's even more apparent now than ever. But again, the issue still remains. The songwriting is sort of shoddy on this record. The production is very inconsistent, or just bad production or song concepts going into these songs from the get-go. Plus the fact that the record is so much of a slog. It is really a total beast whose rough edges could have been been smoothed out for a better result. Regardless, though, I'm feeling a decent 2 strong 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you should check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Busta Rhymes, forever.